Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Hello Hot Flash. I am so excited today to be here today with Christine Semple. Christine, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast.
Hey, Stephanie, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. This is our second conversation, first interview, but we found that
Yeah.
with a little bit of research that that you actually grew up only like 90 minutes away from me. So yeah,
Yes, I did.
we did some more digging. We won't tell you all of our secrets of our connections and so forth, but it was cool to hear. It was very cool to hear. Again, I am so happy that you're here. So I'm going to take this opportunity to actually introduce you to the audience. So everyone, today our guest is Christine Semple. Christine is a holistic approach wellness coach. She's a life coach, a nutritionist, and a personal trainer who works with successful women, helping them identify and rewrite self-defeating thoughts, actions, and behaviors to better align with reawakened inner strength and self-trust. Christine, so many of us need
Yeah.
you. I'm so happy that you are here with us today.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I always say I needed myself like 15 years ago. I needed my version 15 years ago.
I hear you. And when we're by the time our folks listen to this, we're going to be like, oh my gosh, what is her phone number? How do I get in contact with her? You have an amazing story that I think a lot of folks will resonate with us. Can you start off by sharing your story with us?
I would love to. And it really is a big part of why I do what I do now. And as you said, I grew up not too far from you. I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania. And from the very beginning, from the very get-go, I knew I was different. I was a creative mind in a household of health professionals. So I was different. I didn't fit in. I was really shy. I was insecure and an easy target for bullying. And so I carried that throughout a good portion of my life. That really set the seeds of insecurity. I like to call it comparisonitis.
Yeah.
People have chuckled at that, but it really is. It was planted early and I grew with it and it grew with me. So after college, I moved to New York City, far from where I grew up and a very different lifestyle. And I had a very successful career in the fashion industry for 30 years. I worked hard. I played hard. I met really amazing people. And from the outside looking in, I had curated this amazing lifestyle.
Mm.
From the inside out, I was still that shy, quiet, insecure girl trying to prove herself. I was not, and I went through that not enoughness. I'm not thin enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not successful enough. I just wasn't enough. And so I had a life of proving myself and bending over backwards to make sure everybody else was happy. My bosses, my family, my friends, ex-husbands. And for decades, I numbed myself with alcohol. I exercised like a fiend and I had an eating disorder and zero self-worth. And so I had spent decades behind this wall, protecting myself. And after that, I hit rock bottom.
Mm.
All those walls that I had built, all of this facade that I had built came crumbling down around me. And within a 6-month period, I had checked myself into my third rehab for alcoholism. I had lost my job. So the career that I had known for 30 years was gone. And I turned 50.
Oh, wow.
And at that point, I did the usual scurrying. What do I do now? But in an unusual moment of calmness, I said, well, who do I want to be? Because whatever I was doing wasn't serving me.
Right.
And I knew I wanted to be healthy and I wanted to have purpose and I wanted to really feel good about myself and trust myself and know myself again. I was exhausted and I was terrified, but I started down a new path. And I had worked with a life coach years before.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it being different. We didn't dig into the past, but we really took where am I right now?
Right.
What is my present situation? And what do I want the future to look like? And I'm like, I'm going to be a life coach. I
Ah,
said it out loud. It sat really well.
right.
And so at 50, I went back to school.
Awesome.
Um, I got certified in life coaching. At the same time, being so into exercise, I got certified to be a personal trainer. And really, the connecting thread there was nutrition.
Mm.
And so, this me who never saw myself as an entrepreneur, within leaving a 30-year career, rebuilding myself, I started my own business. And that's where Christine Semple Wellness really began. And as I started to work with women, many of the things I had said to myself in the past, and there was a common theme.
Mhm.
If I were thin, I'd be happy. If I were more successful, I'd be happy.
Mhm.
If I fit into my clothes or looked different, my partner would think I was more sexy. They would love me more. I would be happy. All of these ifs of external things that we really can't control would make me happy. And if that doesn't happen, I'm stuck.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm them and they're me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had lived through all of that and I had come to the other side. And I'm like, all of these successful, intelligent women who have accomplished so much in their lives, who are my clients now, who feel stuck, I wanted them to feel the freedom that I was feeling. And so I kind of honed in on my business. And that's when I'm like, okay, we carry all of this with us, all of the self defeating thoughts, actions that, we probably pick up from growing up. We
Mhm.
probably pick up from our family, societal conditioning. And we're in a point that we don't even trust ourselves.
Mhm.
We don't even know our own capabilities. We feel completely disconnected.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'd been there.
So a lot of times people may hear your story and hear themselves in your story, but they haven't gotten to that breaking point yet. Tell us about like what was that day, moment, time, and space? What was that really like in order for you to make the changes that you made?
And Stephanie, that's a good question because you don't have to get to that rock bottom.
Mm.
I wasn't acknowledging what was happening to me.
Hmm.
I was, and that's the thing. Why do we get stuck? We
Right.
get stuck because we keep doing the same thing over and over and over again,
Mhm.
hoping for a different change, hoping that our life will turn out differently or that our experiences will be more exciting.
Right.
And we're afraid of change. Change is the enemy because it's uncomfortable.
Hmm.
But change allows us to say something is different and I'm moving in a different direction. I don't even want to say forward. I'm
Right.
moving in a different direction.
Right.
So for me, I had been so caught up with proving myself and numbing that, and that's the thing about numbing. When you numb yourself,
Hmm.
alcohol, working out, whatever it is, you're hiding behind a wall to protect yourself from all the bad stuff that might be coming in.
Right.
That wall is there protecting you from all the good stuff that might be want to come in too.
I like that.
And so breaking down that wall was my pivotal point. And that was, not what do I want to do, but who do I want to be?
Mm.
That was really strong. And so when I do work with women who do say that they're stuck, great. I am so thrilled that they are vulnerable, that they are reaching out and asking for help.
Yeah.
That's the first step because
Mhm.
they're acknowledging it.
So your two examples of numbing was alcohol and exercising. So the assumption often is that it's something quote unquote bad for you, a drug or an alcohol or sex that people numb with. But you
Yeah.
just gave a very clear example. You could be under eating, overeating, over
Yeah.
exercising. You could be a people pleaser. That could be part of them. Like I only get a good thrill when I am doing whatever someone else wants me to do for them and not taking care of myself. So I wanted to make sure that people,
Correct.
yeah, they heard that. That's really important to understand and to be able to be self-aware about that.
And that's such a great point. It can be shopping. It
Shock.
can
Yes.
be,
Yes.
right? It can be, like you said, like people pleasing,
Mhm.
shutting down because, you know, anxiety or shutting down can also, well, I'm just not going to face that.
Mhm.
Well, okay, well, something wonderful might happen. And so you're right, it doesn't have to be physically harming,
Right.
but it's emotionally harming.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we really need to open the door saying, okay, physically I don't feel good. What do?
Mhm.
We medicate, we go to the doctor, we go to somebody and say, how can I feel better?
Right.
We do need to do the same thing and appreciate that we need to do the same thing with our emotions.
When someone comes to you, and that's an excellent point. So when someone does come to you, what is one of the first things that you do to help them get unstuck? And even maybe to help them recognize that they may be stuck.
And that's really part of it. It's a safe space for them to open up.
Hmm.
And so we create intentions, things that they want to work on.
Hmm.
And I say intentions intentionally because goals are wonderful,
Right.
but when we have an intention,
Ooh,
we're creating a process. We're
ooh,
creating a journey. We're enjoying, uncomfortable or not,
right.
the process day to day,
Right.
saying, I'm moving in this direction. Because very often we work so hard for a goal and then we get there and we're like, now what?
Yeah.
And so it really is. It's what are the intentions? And we start to open up what possibly are obstacles.
Mhm.
And one thing that I really focus in on in the very beginning is knowing your values. Now, when I say that, knowing your values,
Right.
what's important to you?
Right.
Is it family? Is it work? Is it success? Is it, giving back?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we work with other people's agendas and we're not happy. We're working with other people. Well, someone wants me to do this, so I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it well, but I'm not happy.
Right.
And that's maybe because it doesn't align with how you feel about things.
Mhm. I was going to say, I think that's key because often we don't take the time to sit and think about what our values are. That does not come
Right.
up in folks' mind. It's like, okay, I just need to do this or I need to get through this. But what are your values? What feels right to you? What feels right in your gut? If you wake up the next morning, is that part of who you really want to be? So I think that's an amazing
Right.
to walk people through the process.
And, one really great thing, Stephanie, that I work with, do they approve of what they're doing?
Mm,
Do they approve of what they're doing? Because very often we're doing things and we're like, I don't know if that sits well with me.
right.
I want to be able to put my head on a pillow at night and say, yeah, that was really good work. And, every client is different. We all have different pasts and experiences, but so that's a really powerful, the values is a very powerful one.
I like that you asked that question. Intentions versus goals is a big one as well. I'm like, I was teaching on goals today, and I'm thinking, I'm going to weave intentions into the conversation next week when I'm with those women, so that we can I look at that a little differently. They have we're focused on their business mindset, but it's still all the same things. Like, what are your intentions with yourself? What are your intentions with your business, with your family?
Yeah.
I like that different way of thinking. I think it adds more power to the conversation.
Just a little bit of a tweak and
Yeah.
it might not have you doing things differently,
Hmm.
but it has you thinking about things differently.
Definitely. I totally agree with that. And sometimes when people come to you, they like may have like a misconception or frustration. What are you hearing from clients when they come to you in those areas?
A misconception about life coaching
Yes.
or the progress.
Or coaching with you
you
more
know
specifically. Yeah.
it is a process. It
Hmm.
is a journey. And so that misconception can be, I think, one of the most common ones is I'll get a text because when I'm on this journey with them, I'm there. We're in contact all the
Right.
time.
Right.
And they're like, "Ooh, I had a setback. Ooh, I regressed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing this right."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Wait a minute. It's not a regression. It's not a failure. Nothing is ever a failure. It's trial and trial again."
Yeah.
And so they're not regressing. They're not moving backwards. If they've learned something and they're like, "Ooh," I'm like, "You know what? You caught it though. You
Mm-hmm.
thought about it differently. Your action may not have caught up with your thoughts yet, but it will.
Yeah.
Keep thinking the same way." And so understanding that the change happens in the mind first, in the way you think, in the way you approach things. And there is no failure. There really isn't. I honestly believe, I know I make the best decision that I can
Mm-hmm.
every single day with all of the information I have at that moment.
Yes.
5 minutes from now, 10 minutes from now, 5 years from now, I may have different information.
Right.
That doesn't mean my decision was wrong. It just means I need to make a new decision.
That it gives yourself such a sense of relief. Do you know what I mean? It's like applying grace to yourself. I don't have to have it all figured out. I just need to know
Yeah.
that I don't have to have it all figured out.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah, and that helps you move forward. Yeah, I also do say, like you said, no failure. I'm like, no, you cannot say the F word around me.
I like that one
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. Speaking of word failure, like there is no failure. You're just where you are. And when you're working with a life coach or you're working with someone who can coach you through this process, a lot of times what you find is, you know, you may be thinking a certain way for a month at a time and beating yourself up, but then it goes to like a week at a time and then a day at a time. And then it's like, oh, I thought that, now I'm brushing it off kind of thing. It's so impactful
Yeah.
when you allow a life coach, someone like you, to be part of that conversation and help you start to rethink the way that you're actually working and operating.
As we make changes, well, like with anything in life,
Mm-hmm.
we're stringing good days together.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a good day today.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have a good day tomorrow. Then you have a good day tomorrow. And then on and on and on and on. And that's how we build habits.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, okay, life is pretty good.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen all at once. When I work with nutrition clients,
Mm-hmm.
those that want to lose weight, we don't look at I want to lose 100 pounds.
Right.
That is almost unthinkable for them at that moment. Okay, let's start off with what's your water intake?
Yeah. Oh, I was just thinking of that. Are you drinking water every day?
Right. What's your sleep like? Are
Yes.
you getting 8 hours of sleep? We're
Yes.
not talking about, because that's the goal
Right.
and we're going to get there.
Right.
But we need to think about it in increments that work, that
Mm-hmm.
we can be successful at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's how you keep going. When you find those mini wins, you may think they're many, but they're actually MINI, but they're actually huge wins. If you can drink water every day, if you can sleep at night, if you can maybe
Yeah,
tweak one or two of your eating habits, that's when you start to see, because it's not about the weight at the end of the day. Of course, you may want to lose the
right,
100 pounds or what have you, but it's about that whole journey of change that takes place. And then once you get there, how do you maintain? So I love the fact that
right.
you are starting with what people may think are the basics, but it's a foundation. You're helping people set the
It's
foundation.
totally a foundation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a great example with life coaching is I was working with someone just this morning
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, we're all attached to our phones.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, put it down. Well, somebody texted me. That doesn't mean that you need to answer them right away.
Right.
And that's hard for us,
Yeah. Yes.
especially the people pleasers, the perfectionists.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you know what then? We're going to have you not answer your texts right away. In fact, turn the ringer off. You get to it when you're ready on your schedule. Don't be on everybody else's schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, what's that going to do? Try it for a week.
You will be
Let's
amazed.
talk about it. You will be amazed.
You will be.
You save time because then you're not somewhere else. So it's these mini or micro
Mm-hmm.
wins and micro habits that build upon. I like to say, I like to use the example of Legos.
Mm.
We build and we
Right.
put something else on top of it. It has to fit in, right?
Right.
And we build something on top of it. And if it doesn't fit in for you, okay, we're going to get another piece and we're going to put it on.
Right.
Because when we're working with this, when I'm working with clients, this is not check it off the list, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
You can't check up, okay, I'm happy, done.
What? What?
Right?
I wish we could do that.
But if you can every day,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
happy, I'm happy,
Yeah.
I'm happy. So it's maybe, it's a to-be list
Instead of a to-do list.
every single day, every single day.
Yeah, I
How
like
am I approaching this?
I like that. That's so important. I can hear people thinking, I have a life coach that's going to tell me not to look at my phone. Like, what's that all about? But you're exactly right in the fact that until you do it, until you start to understand the impact something that micro can happen or have in your life.
Mm-hmm.
I have the ringer off for text messages, period. I'm like, people know where I live. If it's that much of an emergency, they will find me. And if it's a
Right.
text, it's probably not an emergency. Someone will call you. That has changed the way that I operate in business. It's changed my cortisol levels. It completely impacts my day in a positive manner because I'm not always like, oh, what did they say? Oh, what's going on? And oh, I need to respond. And then
Mm-hmm.
feeling bad because you can't respond right away. So it has a much, if for folks that are listening and they think, oh, what's that about? It has a much larger impact on you than you could think.
It does have a much larger impact, and that's just like a micro step. And you
Yeah.
said something, Stephanie, and I want to dive back into that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't tell my clients what to do.
Mm,
They come up with the ideas themselves because they need to know. That's when we talk about the obstacles. We
mm-hmm.
talk about what is really holding them back.
Mm.
Okay, what's one thing you think you can do?
Yeah. Yeah. I like
They
that.
might come up with a phone. They might come up with it can't be my idea, because then they'll come back and say, well, that didn't work.
Right. Your idea
What's
that
one thing you, no, but what's one thing that you really think you
yeah.
can be successful at?
Yeah.
If it's a 10-minute pause to answer, okay, we're going to start with a 10-minute pause to answer the text.
Right. Right. And sometimes you just need someone to help you get that awareness and help you come up with the plan that you already have inside of you, but helping you pull that out. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So what is the best mental health advice that you've ever received?
And you know what? I think I already shared that. And it's nothing is ever a failure.
I like that.
Make a decision, because make the best decision that you can at that moment with all of the information that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we wait until we think it's perfect, or we wait and think about, well, I have to ask this person and get too much, that's when we become stuck.
Right.
We know what to do. It's just we often don't trust ourselves to make a decision, because what if it's wrong?
Mm-hmm.
What if somebody else doesn't like it?
Mm-hmm.
What if somebody else would have done something else? Then we're stuck. Make a decision. It's going to move you somewhere. It's going to move you in a direction.
That's awesome.
And that was freeing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else might not like it. Well, okay. We'll deal with that one. We'll deal with that one later.
Right, right, right.
And that's, people pleasing and boundaries and negative thinking and self-talk. All of these things are, where we go.
So we won't tell our ages, but we've both probably experienced some hormone highs and lows. And the
A
majority of
little bit.
just a little bit. And the majority of the women listening to this conversation have. So what is one piece of advice you can share with our audience to help them manage hormonal changes?
Give yourself grace.
Love that.
Listen to your body. You just said, what happens when we're going through the hormonal changes?
Mm-hmm.
Our body is going through things that our mind can't even comprehend.
Right.
Why is this happening? Well, listen to your body. It knows best. It may be hard and we may not want to, but give yourself grace. Listen to your body. And if you need to open the window, open the window. Tell your husband or your partner to put a sweater on, right?
Right, right.
If you need to lay down because you're a little bit, you're a little bit overexerted, I never take naps.
Mm-hmm.
You maybe lay down.
Yeah.
Give yourself what you need during that period. And then that just carries on. You always give yourself grace.
I love that. That's some excellent, excellent advice. Christine, I've had so much fun with you in our past couple conversations, and I want to make sure that we leave with you telling everyone how they can get in contact with you and how they can work with you.
Thank you, Stephanie. It is Christine Semple Wellness is the name of the company. ChristineSemple.com is my website. I offer free consultation calls, free 30-minute consultation calls. And Instagram, I am Christine Semple _wellness coach. Facebook, I'm Christine Semple. And I would love to hear from, anyone who's thinking I'm stuck and I don't know why. I'm in limbo, whether it be a transition of work, empty nester, just life in general. Mm. We're all successful, really smart, intelligent women. And if we learn to listen to ourselves a little bit more than we listen to everyone else, there's a nice balance.
I love that. That's awesome. Thank you once again so much for being here with us today.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Everyone, thank you so much for listening to Hello Hot Flash, where we help you control midlife change. Make sure to check out the show notes, and I'll have all of Christine's information listed there for you. And if you want to discover a way to manage your hormones so you can sleep better, have more energy, and maintain your weight, take the quiz on hellohotflash.com. It only takes 90 seconds. And here's to your health.